ladies and gentlemen, trees and non-binaries, and welcome to another exciting episode of I Am the Night, the show here on the DC Comics News Podcast Network, where I, Adam Ray, and my delightful bat expert father, Steve Ray, are here to talk about powerful things in the world of Batman the Animated Series, the epoch, the granddaddy of non-comics Batman-flavored adaptations. And it's paining me to say this, dear listeners, but we're getting to the end of the actual main canon. We are at the penultimate, as it were, the second to last episode, but a memorable one indeed that brings us a classic, iconic, extended Bat family member. This is, of course, Creeper, episode 102 of our show, season 3, episode 24. And I'll be honest, my Bat reading is extensive, but I don't know the character of the Creeper as well as I would like, and I think, sure, you'll be able to cite some references to me, but this is a very strong, definitive sort of introduction to the character, I would think.
It's literally a picture-perfect reinterpretation that can be understood and enjoyed in 20-odd minutes of TV. The way they've condensed the character but really got him is superb. So, honestly, everything you really need to know about the Creeper you get in this episode. It's that good. It's that good.
At this point, we can pretty much expect the creative team behind Batman the Animated Series to handle it well. And because it's such a layered character, they had quite the creative team behind it, with the story by Rich Fogel and the script by Steve Gerber, directed by mainstay of the show, Dan Reber. They were able to get multiple tones and the well-rounded origin story of the Creeper down really well, because as we've been seeing sort of consistently almost from the beginning, I failed to recall when Jack Ryder's first appearance was in this show, at least. But we got some decent foreshadowing that Jack Ryder was
one, I think. Season.
I think it was
from the beginning. Yeah.
I think the big face behind the news back then was still Vicky Vale, wasn't it?
No, not in this series. It'd be Summer Gleason, wouldn't it?
Oh, of course.
But I think that Jack Ryder and Summer appeared very early in the season.
Yeah.
Because we talked about Jeff Glenn Bennett, but I have to talk about him again because it's been quite a while. And like I said, as we're not exactly sure when he made his first appearance, we have to talk about him as well. But we also have to talk about one other actor in this episode as well. We
will give the star-studded and talented cast their due diligence towards the end of the episode. But they were foreshadowing that because of the appearance of Jack Ryder, we could presume that the Creeper would be around. And sure enough, we got the definitive sort of introduction for him here. So let's talk a little bit about beat for beat, because this episode really misses nothing here. We get vintage Joker and Harley Quinn right off the bat, going back to that historic Ace Chemicals plant and giving Jack Ryder what could have been his very bad day.
Well, it was, but in other ways, a good day. And I love the way that my mind has become so nerded out that I actually think the same way as Batman. Why didn't he go completely insane and go the same way as the Joker? Because there were different circumstances, the explosions, the attack with the Joker gas as well beforehand. And the fact that I think that Jack Ryder comes across as a very together, intellectual, smart journalist type. And like you said, many tones. The difference between Jack Ryder and the Creeper is brilliant in this episode. Like you said, from the very beginning, he's there doing a live special, 7 years of the Joker, the madness behind the laughter. And he just comes across as one of these respectable journalists, like your Trevor McDonald's of the world, that you automatically know and trust everything they say. And then, of course, Bruce is watching from home because it involves the Joker, and he knows what the Joker's like. And has to take off when Joker and Harley and 3 hench people, which we're going to talk about, appear in the rafters. And it just goes from there, and it's so much fun.
Definitely so, because we start with him sort of straight-laced doing a live report about the Joker sort of in his history there, because we get the compromise of him sort of handling the history that we got as a combination of both the Killing Joke and also the unnamed gun for hire from Mask of the Phantasm. So they've been able to really knit together a lot of the wider canon they've established in this version of Batman. And then all chaos breaks out. But still, I agree. I think it's probably down to his like analytical mindset and him just being a generally a bit more positive and together dude that he didn't go full crazy, but he just went a little bit like zany, as it were.
Well said. Zany's the perfect description, because he talks TV like a junkion, and he's literally in 5 different modes every time he speaks, and it's brilliantly done. But I really love the fact that he's together even when he's nuts. He's got this mission. He knows exactly what he's doing. And there are a few moments in the show where he's silhouette a Batman, but you get the crazy laugh of the Joker, and he's like
halfway between them.
Mad combination of the two characters. So it's absolutely brilliant, and so many moments in this which I've picked out. I've filled out a whole page of notes for this episode. It was so well put together.
I know at the very least when I was watching it that there was one quote that I feel like you're going to unpack to the absolute nines, but at the very least I'll remind you of it and insist that you unpack it. Tipping our hands a little bit because we have another very exciting project bubbling up on the background with some dear friends, dear listeners, and the themes with which I want to talk about in and around the quote I pulled out mirrors very closely to a special episode of something else we're working on. But for that, you'll have to turn your ears to future podcast broadcast goodness. But yeah, we see him get a hit of that Joker gas and then fall into the same vat of unknown Element X style chemicals. But I think the bright lights and some of the pops and explosions and fireworks, and then him being drained out, just like in The Killing Joke, meant that some things just went a little bit differently, and the Creeper was created. And we see him go on his chaotic but still admirable sort of rampage across
quest.
Quest, yeah, that's a
noble quest.
Ignoble quest, yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. Because what other weird creeper would break into a vintage store but still pay with credit for the whatever weird costume he bought?
Exactly. He paid using Jack Ryder's card, and that's all it took for Batman and Robin to be on the scene and work out who he was and try and help him. But so many amazing moments right from the get-go with this. As soon as Batman and Robin arrive, and the henchman and Harley said, "What, you knew he'd come?" And Joker comes out with, "I know, of course he's coming. He's my biggest fan." And that
speaks volumes
about the Joker's delusion and his clear love and need for Batman's attention. And a line like that, which took seconds to put on the page, shows that these people know these characters, and it just makes my heart sing with joy.
I think it's also important to show that like they still have all of these lines down, just to show the trouble and turmoil and storied just dynamic that they've had for so long, that they could very easily rest on their laurels here as they're coming to the end of the season, but they just don't. They keep everything strong and consistent and clean and fresh, which is so refreshing to see.
And powerful.
Yeah.
It's really powerful, because that's some deep psychology right there in one line of dialogue. Obviously, magnificently delivered by the animation god that is Mark Hamill, but we'd expect no less. But the one-liners and tips to the hat in this episode don't just extend to Batman. We've got the 3 henchmen coming out with stuff like, "Okay, love you, bye-bye," Animaniacs. You've got them coming out with let me at him, sounding exactly like Scrappy-Doo.
Yep.
And little moments like that. And then when you find out their names, because I looked at them and I thought, hang on, that's the 3 Stooges, and we'll come into that later.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's the 3 the 3 Joker Stooges are the 3 actual Stooges from comedy history. So genius. You can tell that these writers and directors love classic entertainment in every shape and form.
I think the quote that I really want to unpack, just because it's fascinating for Batman Joker psychology, is that it's sort of like all of the numbers around it sort of tie up really well, but then it sort of adds to the greater theme of just like, who are Batman and Joker together, and then there's history repeating itself about the Creeper being created. So Like as soon as I said it, I had to pause and I'm like, oh, because I know you'd have a field day with this. Oh, you broke my face and got 7 years bad luck last time we were here. Do you want to make it 14 with Ryder falling in the vat of chemicals? It's like, oh.
Yeah, you beat me to it. That was going to be my next quote for the exact same reasons that Batman will always help the victim because he knows that way, at least that's one life he saved.
Yeah.
But other people will criticize that, saying, well, how many lives will Joker take in that time? But that's in the future. That's an unknown quantity. Jack Ryder's there.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
Yeah. I think the thing I want to sort of look at first is the symbolism behind what he said.
Yeah.
You broke my face and got 7 years bad luck. As in the superstition around breaking a mirror. Is that what the Joker thinks about the two of them? There's like one of them's the shattered glass version of the other. And
haven't we discussed that ad infinitum over the decades?
Over the decades and over an hour of delicious podcast content coming soon to a viewer near you.
Coming.
But at the very least, like, again, throw away innocent lines that some people might miss, but we go very deep on our readings and viewings of this show, and little moments like that really make us think, really make us pause of like, oh, symbolism, oh, literary heritage. And you just go, wow, they handle that to masterful intent.
Absolutely. And speaking of literary heritage, I think this is the first Batman and Robin no other sidekick episode in quite a while. And it's magnificent because of it. Again, we've said it so many times, the training, the communication. And I've got to say, young Tim Drake in this episode is awesome. He takes down a couple of henchmen by himself, throws batarangs, and he's just brilliant in this.
He really is. Because at this point, there's no more ring rust and no more uncertainty. He's a seasoned ally and aid and sidekick to Batman at this point, and we can count on the two of them to be such a strong team consistently and handle whatever situation that they have. And in this case, it's the biggest threat possible. It's the Joker, and he's done strange things to a pillar of Gotham and the Gotham City community. So they're taking it as seriously as they can to stop him before he does something else and something worse.
Well said. Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of sidekicks, while it does pain me to see Harley back with Joker, we knew it was going to happen at the end of Mad Love because of how it ended. And she still at this time is like Stockholm Syndrome to the nth degree and stuck with him. And part of me almost hoped that she'd see that with the Creeper, there's genuine affection there and he would treat her right and he's not an evil scumbag like Joker is. But hey-ho, maybe sometime in the future, if things ever go wrong with her and Ivy, which I hope they never ever do because I love them as a couple. But going back to Harley, when Joker gets back to his hideout, and this is, again, where this series gets away with stuff I don't think many other shows could ever get away with. I mean, Harley climbs out from a giant pie. Harley dipped in custard. Wow. That's an image that will be in my brain for quite a while. And the line, try some of my pie.
Yes, because
that could go so many ways.
So yes, because a cream pie, of course, like a staple gag for clowns, has another connotation that we
many connotations
that we will not unpack on a family podcast. So very bold stuff that would super duper not get made today.
Oh no,
not in animated television. What
with the new Batman Crusader apparently coming to Prime and streaming services not having the same censorship as actual networks, I've already heard that the new series will be a bit more adult and a bit more dark. So more of the same, and it's still Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and Alan Burnett. So I cannot wait for more of this stuff because, like you said, on a network, they'd never get away with this stuff. Yeah.
And on Amazon Prime, they've been able to push animation such as Has Been Hotel and Legends of Vox Machina and, of course, Invincible, other great stuff in the superhero genre. So if they're brave enough to not shy away from more mature themes, then it could be a pretty interesting one. But then again, when you want wholesome Batman fun for the whole family, you come right back to this show. And with weird images aside, it still holds up. But now we've been veering away for a little bit because we've talked about Jack Ryder's transformation. So let's really look into the Creeper's creeping quest as he's there trying to find the Joker just to sort of understand what happened to him and then find some unlikely infatuation towards Harley Quinn. We get him. I think the whole scene is made just by how exasperated and bored the lady in the store is, the owner of that fashion boutique.
It's so good. I'm glad you brought it up.
Why was she so accustomed to some freak tearing up her shop? But why, though?
Gotham.
Yeah.
It's probably a Wednesday for her. It might even be the same shop that Harley and Ivy went shopping with the hypnotized Bruce Wayne. I mean, you just don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I have to say as well, and I rewound it several times, that as you walk into that store, as the camera pans into that store, I swear that one of the shoppers there is Mary Jane Watson.
That's an unlikely crossover.
But I swear to God, and I rewound it several times. So listeners, viewers, watch this episode. As the camera first enters the store, the first redhead you see, I swear, is Mary Jane. But hey, you know, Gotham is New York, is Gotham, so who knows?
It's a possibility, but at the very least, us vintage Batman fans can recognize the shop being a staple of Gotham community because what was it named? What was it called?
Oh, I can't remember. What was it called?
It was Ditko's Vintage Clothing.
A Ditko. Of course, it's Mary Jane. The original Spider-Man artist was Steve Ditko.
Oh, it very well might have been.
Yeah, and he didn't create Mary Jane. That was John Romita Sr., but the fact it's called Ditko's, oh, mate, how did I miss that?
I'm surprised you missed that.
I spotted that the bar where Creeper attacks the henchman and then Harley turns up is the Stacked Deck, which is the name of that vintage, very rare, leather-bound hardcover greatest Joker stories ever told that I've got. So that's brilliant. But I missed it, Coz. Well done. Thank you. I love you for that.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe like a place like the Stacked Deck or the Stacked Deck itself was where that mishap happened to the real Matches Malone, which is where Bruce Wayne assumes that identity.
I think you're right.
Again, knowing the nitty-gritty and literary heritage of Batman himself, so they're handling that very well. But yeah, he goes on his head, tries to make himself the most garish costume possible, but still pays with credit, and then finds his way to the Stacked Deck, throws around pool tables. And my current day job is in a place with very large pool tables. Those things are huge and cannot be moved by one man. So what kind of effect did the combination of the Joker gas plus the unknown chemicals in that vat do to his like strength and agility? Because we see him doing flippy jumps and like going over telephone poles and like lampposts, but then having other feats of strength as well. So yeah, that stuff really changed him.
Big time. But let's remember as well that and this is again one of the parts of the episode that I'm going to come back to in our takeaways, when Jack Napier falls in, he literally falls in and is slooshed out into the river immediately. When Jack lands in the stuff, he's been gassed with Joker venom. Then there's the explosions and the fire and whatever else. But he's dunked in several times by Joker and then not slooshed out into the river for quite a while afterwards. So if Joker had been in there long enough, could he also have become a metahuman? Because you're quite right. The way the Creeper moves and hits is metahuman levels. This guy is maybe not Spider-Man level, but not far off it.
Yeah, there's definitely like amazing superhuman like acrobatic skills and like feats of strength. Yeah. So
he slaps Batman away like a fly.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Batman lifted and threw a pool table. So
Batman lifted him through the pool table, but it looked like he struggled.
Yes.
Creeper didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the difference. And that was clever storytelling to show that for Creeper, it was a piece of cake. For Batman, it was effort.
Yeah.
And Batman's strong.
Yes. I think I'll remember mostly sort of in and around the Nightfall timeline where Bruce Wayne transposes his mind into an Olympic athlete and he's like, oh, this body's starting to get tired.
Blind Justice, yeah. An Olympic athlete, Batman was temporarily before. I mean, I think they got the idea for Nightfall from that because obviously John Paul is actually physically probably stronger and more athletic than Batman because of the system, because of the programming and the fact that he's got animal DNA in him, but not quite the same martial arts level of fighter. But this Olympic athlete, yeah, Batman was in his body and thought, and this guy thinks he's in shape. Nah.
Oh, the irony of it. But sure enough, it comes, the episode has a dramatic conclusion on a high-speed car chase with what looks like the Joker sort of stole parade floats, which is a lovely callback to Batman 89.
Yes!
And then that high-speed chase where the Creeper was able to perfectly figure out all of the weird gags and gimmicks to the reverse missile launches of the ejector seat of Joker's car, and a very It's a Small World-esque sort of float with the Joker hucking village people at them. They were able to get the tension down very well there.
Like I said, I mean, Creeper could be Batman's secret weapon against the Joker, because it's like you said, he worked out Joker's kooky gags and gadgets on that car brilliantly and in record time. I mean, poor old Robin, I say, another awesome moment for him as he goes all Michael J. Fox, being dragged on a wheeled crate behind the Batmobile, chasing after the Joker and the Creeper. And it's just such a cool action scene, dodging missiles and whatever else. It harkened back to Batman 89, but it was still something uniquely, amazingly Batman the Animated Series. I love that sequence.
Yeah, definitely. So they were able to round out the episode pretty well with Creeper hopefully being rehabilitated. Future visions of this Batman the Animated Series universe would let us know otherwise. So let's talk a little bit about the star-studded cast in this episode.
Well, we've mentioned Jeff Glenn Bennett when he first appeared on the show, but he's a G. But I'm only going to recap his highlights, because if you go through his stuff, it will go on forever. But I did find some nuggets that I didn't see the first time around. We know he's Dexter's dad, Brooklyn the Gargoyle in Gargoyles, Drix in Ozzy and Drix, but he was also the Spectre in the DC Showcase animated short, the Joker in The Brave and the Bold, Alfred in the Batman Year One animated movie, Foghorn Leghorn in the Animayhem animated movie, and like I say, he's done so much that literally they made a movie about him back in 2013. I know that voice is the life and career of Jeff Glenn Bennett. That's how awesome the guy is.
Well, when you've got a storied and layered career like that, it's true. I do know that voice. He was there in my childhood and in the animated features of practically everyone in the West, so, and the East, I presume. So, like, yeah, amazing stuff, amazing performances in history. Oh,
yeah, lots of manga credits there as well. Obviously, I've just touched the stuff that everyone will know.
Great.
But this is the one that will surprise you.
Oh, yeah?
Billy West, one actor, played La, Kerr and Moe, a.k.a. Larry, Curly and Moe, the Three Stooges from history, and gave them classic lines, perfectly delivered. Let me at 'em, sounding just like Scrappy-Doo. Okay, I love you, bye-bye, straight out of Animaniacs, which he's also appeared on, but of course he has. But listen to this. After the death of Mel Blanc, the guy who did all the original Looney Tunes voices, I mean, all of them, this guy took over as Bugs, Daffy, Elmer Fudd, Muttley. He did Popeye, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. He's the Red M&M from all the M&M's commercials. So obviously, after the death of Mel Blanc, all the big movies, Looney Tunes Back in Action, he handled Bugs, Daffy, and all those mainstays, and very hard to tell apart from the Mel Blanc originals. Maybe some slight changes, obviously, because of adding their own personality, but it's clearly Bugs Bunny, it's clearly Daffy Duck, and it's amazing. Huge talent. But also DC cred. He was Skeets, Booster Gold's little electronic buddy in Justice League Unlimited and The Brave and the Bold. And he was even Rocket Raccoon in the Marvel Universe in Ultimate Spider-Man. So they could bring in a talent like this, who was also Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, wow.
And 4 recurring characters in Futurama to do silly lines of dialogue as 3 henchmen, 3 Stooges, is just awesome.
Well, I think it's amazing to get someone with that immense tenure just to be able to do 3 voices that are similar but a little bit different, because you would need an absolute master of the craft to be able to pull off a feat like that. But still, like, that kind of history, but to be able to do 3/1/3 bit parts is absolutely amazing. He's wow. I'd probably imagine that he was just probably there in the Warner Brothers offices, and it's like, oh, we need someone to fill in these lines. Like, I'll do it, and probably just did it himself, sort of like ad-libbing against himself, like that scene of the late great Robin Williams in Mrs. Doubtfire. So, wow, what a talent! Truly, what a talent!
As is everyone who's appeared on this amazing, amazing TV show.
Very true indeed, and it is getting to the point where we need to look at the things that stuck with us, good, bad, or dirty, from the Creeper itself. What was your big takeaway to round out this episode?
I have to say, and you said it right from the start of the show, Beware the Creeper is probably all you need to know about the character. It's precede his origin, his mania, his power perfectly. It's brilliantly done. It's on a level capturing the character's essence as Mad Love is for me. It's truly great, and only by having the talents that you have in this show could it be done. But I do want to talk about how Batman should really tap into using this guy more when he faces the Joker. And how at the end he gets a patch that will keep his creeper personality under wraps, but he pulls the patch off. Is that loving the power? Is that wanting to be a hero? Because regardless of his mania and his wackiness, and he calls himself the yellow-skinned wacky man, though I prefer to be known as the Creeper, would we act any different if we had that kind of ability? But again, he's using it for good, even though he's completely hat stand. That to me is just speaks volumes about the character and about Batman's rogues gallery stroke extended family, like you called it at the beginning, really, really well. I mean, it's deep, but hugely entertaining.
I think stories like this are always going to be morality plays. There are always going to be chances for us to ask, what would we do if we had this power? Because I would try, but I don't know if I would always be quite so noble. And I know that a lot of people who definitely wouldn't be. So, yeah, we respect the character and we hope that he's able to keep on the straight and narrow, but still the wacky with whatever choices he makes going forward. And of course, we see him time and again in the comics, but not as much as many would expect. So, yeah, he would be a fitting way of dealing with the Joker.
And the other side of the coin is, and greater minds than ours, though not much because we're huge Bat fans, have always spoken about, do you have to be crazy to be the Batman? Do you have to be crazy to be a hero? So maybe that insanity is what it takes, that lack of caring for anything but the greater good. Who knows? I mean, it's a philosophical debate for the ages.
It really is, and one that's definitely worth having, perhaps possibly in a different platform. But as for myself, there are wonderful little character moments, and I truly cannot think of a time when I can recall back to this, but a part of me just finds it deeply satisfying to see the Joker at some beakers doing some chemistry, mixing the weird chemicals that go into his laughing gas and go into his other deadly traps and tricks. Why has it not been seen more? Who do I have to ask at DC to just like give me some scenes like that? Because like the Joker just like thrives on being this agent of chaos, but you got to have like a strong intelligence and understanding to be able to mix that stuff. Because there's also moments where it talks about how he like was able to mix the Joker gas from just random cleaning supplies that was able to use to escape Arkham one of the hundreds of times. So that level of methodical planning and intelligence is something that we need to see just a little bit more, just once. And so I'm very satisfied to see it here. It just felt natural.
I'm glad you brought it up because it brought me to my final takeaway as well, that we said at the beginning that Jack Ryder said that he had many aliases. And we know that this set of stories and Batman the Animated Series was directly influenced by Tim Burton's movies, where he's called Jack Napier. But I'm so glad that they've addressed that by saying that Jack Napier was just one of many aliases he uses. No one really knows who the Joker was. But that Jack Napier tie and the chemical brilliance, which he uses in Batman 89, was just a lovely touch that unifies different corners of the Batman universe and different aspects of the Joker superbly without taking away any of his mystique. In fact, if anything, it restores it.
Yeah, definitely.
Giving the Joker a name, to me, should never happen. I mean, in the comics, Batman says he knows it, but he doesn't reveal it.
No.
And that's, I can live with that. Yeah, I can live with that. But we should never know who the Joker is. And the fact that they now said, yeah, he started out as a gunsel, he was a hoodlum and an assassin for the mob, as he was in Mask of the Phantasm, but he wasn't Jack Napier, it was just an alias. Magic. Pure magic.
They handled it perfectly, and as we'd expect, it's wonderful stuff, and we're looking forward to seeing some stories like it. But at the very least, we've got the perfect introduction for the Creeper for anyone who wants to know more about the character. Batman the Animated Series does it again.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So that's it. That is our episode 102 of Batman the Animated Series. I Am the Night, our show. Thank you for listening. But if you want to catch up with a little bit more of the best of us, where can our dear listeners find you, your writings and your musings, my dear father?
Thank you. Type Steve J. Ray or Fantastic Universes into your search engine of choice, and that'll take you across all the podcasts, all the writings, all the mental meanderings that come out of this noggin on DC Comics News, Dark Knight News, and our baby, our pride and joy, Fantastic Universes. You can catch this show and all the others from the network on DC Comics News podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever else you get your audio and visual enjoyment, including YouTube, where you'll see our noble and heroic dynamic duo visages. But Adam, where can the world hear you, see you, and read your work?
Well, aside from on this delightful show, you can find me talking many DC-flavoured things with my reviews over on Dark Knight News. Both Catwoman and Red Hood the Hill are in excellent spots right now. But for my one true love, PC and tabletop gaming, look no further than the aforementioned pride and joy of ours, fantasticuniverses.com. And the Fantastic Universes podcast is also a point for me to talk about my various loves of games of all kinds. Follow me on Twitter at IsItTinker, as you can see up there somewhere. I talk constantly about all of the things that I'm playing and losing to, and there'll be rumblings and brewings of a very special and very close to heart project coming very soon from myself, and also another one from my dear father that I am happy to edit, remix, and make shiny and tasty. Thank you for listening. This has been I Am the Night, and until next time.
Adam Ray is the Night. Together, we are the Night. And this has been the I Am the Night podcast.
And don't forget to read
more
comics
and watch
more
Batman.